Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hey, Brian, how's your week been?
It's been awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, seems like there's always something cool going on.
Yeah.
I know you're excited about something right now, too.
I am. We're actually in the middle right now of doing some research and building some training. It's just exciting stuff. I learn so much when I go through these processes.
Right? Yeah.
And so it gets me excited.
Sometimes we just assume we know what the answers is. We make up the answer. Answers are.
Yeah. Or we go with the traditional.
Yeah.
This is what we know because this is the way it's always been.
And conventional wisdom.
Yeah. Things change.
Yeah.
We got to keep up.
Yes, we do.
All right.
Well, what's funny is that a lot of sellers think that this business is really about finding products to sell.
Yeah. So what is it really about? I mean, that kind of makes sense, right?
Well, that's the first problem that you have to solve, when you're like, if you're going to buy a McDonald's franchise, well, you need a location. That's the first thing that you're solving for, right? The same thing when we're in our business, like the first thing we have to solve for is things to sell. But what we're actually doing here is building an asset long-term. Okay?
Okay.
We are building this database, this living database of curated, matched, approved, sourced ASINs with real buy costs. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that database becomes your intellectual property, and it is the engine, the lifeblood of your business.
Let me just bring out one thing that you said about sourced ASINs. Mm-hmm. This seems to be confused that in something we need to separate, I think. Okay. A sourced ASIN is simply an ASIN that we found a source for that matches, right?
Correct.
As opposed to a whole decision about what you're going to buy. That's a buying decision or a testing decision. Mm-hmm. The sourcing is just that, finding a source to match the ASIN.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up because there's been some confusion in some of the people I've been talking to, and I felt like that clarity needs to be brought up again. Yeah,
we were even like getting sort of lost in the whole sourcing versus matching discussion at one point. I'm not sure.
I know we've been all around that.
Yeah, because the sourcing, historically has been see if you can find a source for this product.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cheap enough that you can. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be cheap enough, right? Like cheap enough is relative, and it's a point in time number.
Right.
Right.
No, I'm saying historically we looked at it that way.
Oh yeah.
Now we look at it differently.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Good point. So okay. Well, anyway, I like to think of this database as. I said it in a coaching call the other day, and it just came out. I had no thought my mind was going to go there. Basically, as a sourdough starter.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever make a sourdough starter?
What do you know about a sourdough starter?
Not much. The concept of I think you mix some stuff together and let it germinate, and then
some stuff.
You can cut pieces off and give it to other people, and it's sort of like a plant, right? You it's a living, breathing thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In that sense, it sure is.
You don't make it one time and then just walk away unless you never want to make sourdough bread again, unless you get another starter from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So you have to feed it. You have to maintain it. And it does get stronger over time. Mm-hmm. Actually, I worked with someone who was telling me about his sourdough starter,
right?
Oh,
that might be way.
And he had to go get a new one from his folks. And then now he's trying to keep his own going all the time, right?
Uh-huh.
So I like to sort of look at our replens business as every replenishable ASIN that we are confirming, that we verify a source on, that we clean out because the lead is dead for whatever reason, we're making our starter healthier, right? Our database healthier.
Okay. All right.
You buying that?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then once it's really alive and cooking and mature, then it does most of the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to get back in there and manage it all the time.
Okay, so I see what you're talking about. I see this in coaching all the time.
Uh-huh.
Someone books a session and they show up and the first thing they say is, I can't find anything to sell.
Yep.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, that problem isn't that there isn't anything out there. I mean, I would say 10 times out of 10. It's not that there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
It's that they have to start from zero every time. They have a clean slate. They walk in and go, okay, 1.4 billion ACEs. Which one should I start with? Every single time. as opposed to having some carryover, some momentum, so that every time they go and sit down to source, it's not a blank sheet. And you have to build that. I mean, that didn't happen on day one, but you can build it.
It is an investment for sure.
Yeah.
But it is sort of
it needs to accumulate.
Sitting down and say, okay, I'm going to write my first novel. And all you have is a stack of blank paper.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Talk about writer's block.
Once you get started putting some words on paper, then you at least have something to work with.
Exactly.
It may be crap, but you got something to work with.
You may ball it up and toss it in the trash can, but you've started. I
mean, that's the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
If I am so concerned that I have the novel perfect before I put one word on paper,
yes,
I'm going to be a long time before I publish.
That's right.
I'm going to be punished by my publisher. It's going to be a long time, if ever, that I publish. So we can't have those kind of expectations.
That's true. Right. And like how we say a lot of times, like done is better than perfect.
Yeah. Right? We got to get something that we can build on.
Yeah.
And then in this case, feed that something that we've mixed up, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And compare that, what you were talking about, from the seller who comes in with this blank slate and is looking at the stack of blank paper, they're trying to write their first novel, to the seller who actually has Starter going already.
Yeah.
Right? Like
a little bit of momentum, a little bit of...
Yeah. They're sitting down and saying, what is ready for me today? Right? Instead of, where do I even start?
And recently, you've come up with ways to make that a lot easier to start the starter and get something to work with by not making it only perfect things in your list. Like, match things from there. You can choose things. And that's a lot different than the way we used to do it.
I'm going to unpack that a little bit later.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
But, without starter, you're basically, like you said, starting from scratch. You're hunting.
Yeah.
Okay. So with one, you're harvesting from something that you've already planted versus the hunting that. So I want to build the starter so that I can just cut a little piece off, give it to somebody and then go make their own starter. Or I can just cut a piece off and make some bread or do whatever I want to do there. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Then you're giving yourself choices.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this makes me think of when a lot of people know, I've told my story many times, when I first started. When I first started in the business with you, and we come up with this number of
how many ASINs,
200 ASINs or something that I had to find within the next, couple months or whatever the time was.
Just thinking about that gets me excited again. I remember how we felt at that time.
We did. We always so excited.
Yeah.
Except for the mornings when I came back and said, okay, here's my 8 ASINs. I found 9 today. And you say, yes, crash, scratch, because, that's a 2-pack. Oh, that's not.
Well, let's just be clear. You could never wait till the morning. It was as soon as I got home. Here was a list. Hey, look at this.
Well, Brian, when I'm excited.
I know.
I mean, which is, most of the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was, what I consider my desert days, right? Like, it was all there for me to go through, but it was all there for me to go through.
Right.
And so I picked 5 stores. And I stayed with 5 stores. I found 1 ASIN. Is it in this store, this store, this store, this store? Yes, no. If it was, I considered it. If it wasn't, it wasn't. And I was able to go fast there. Now we have so many more ways to do that make it much more efficient than what we had at the time. But I built something that in that 200 ASINs that we could really work on. It was not pretty. It was scrappy. It was kind of
right.
Take what you can get. But we had something that we could work with, and we built strongly and quickly after that.
Well, I think you 7x'd what I had going, because back then, if it wasn't a deal at Target, it wasn't a deal for me, right? Because I didn't like shopping anywhere else.
Because you were allergic to Walmart, and now that's what came the joke where Brian won't go to Walmart to save money, but he'll go to Walmart to make money.
That's right. I still feel that way today.
Yeah, me too.
But I do, like at that time, I had like 60 or so items, 60 or so ASINs in the catalog that I had stocked at least once. Many of them were multiple times. And those 60 are what fueled us to 5 figures a month in revenue. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I had to catch up with you there. But I think that period of time when we put together 200 ASINs, not only were we finding things that we could start with, but we were starting to understand, because we were doing enough volume, we were starting to understand what we were looking for. And we looked at them together every day. And we could talk about them and see what is it about these that is what I'm looking for, that works for me, and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So that I could more and more efficiently do that process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So, but what the other thing I do remember about that, sorry, just maybe go a little bit off script on this, is that where, my patch was very small just with Target, and then we expanded that to like 6 additional stores. So we had like 7 in total. That made it way easier, much easier for us to find things to test and sell, even though we didn't call it testing back then. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, because we hadn't developed that framework yet.
Right. Just like 6xing your pipeline, I guess, made a huge difference. Now, for me at the time, I would have been overwhelmed with that process. The other thing that you did was you built yourself a little framework for how you are sourcing. Right?
I am a methodical thinker.
You're like, if I can't find this product in one of these 7 stores, it's not a product for me.
Exactly. I don't have time to go search out that last little one that might be somewhere out there. Besides the fact that I have to go to these stores. At the time, I was driving to the store and picking these up. Yep. And the fewer stores I could go to, the better.
Yep. Well, today, we've got a lot of ASINs in our system. I mean, a lot. Over 80,000. Not as many as some of my coaching clients have, I have to admit.
Yeah.
But the real asset, it really isn't the number, the top line number, just like the real asset is not the gold bars.
Right.
Right? The real asset is the 300, 400, 500 that pass through your filters that then become, now you're actually doing the pre-flight inspection and the 3-step check and just validating the data. Is this something I'm going to buy or not?
Is this something that I can actually use or not today?
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be tomorrow, but I need what I can use today.
Right.
Yeah.
That is actually the starter of your business. The rest of all that stuff that, the 81,600, that's just like your 5-pound sack of flour over there. It's just sitting there.
Yeah. It's ready to
add.
To go when it's time for it.
Yes.
To add to when you need to, but it's not starter yet, right?
And what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're going through that process, when you're building up your database, every sourcing session that you do is either building it or neglecting it, right? So if you're not adding to your database, it is, whether you can see it or not, slowly decaying, right? So which
is a business principle. If you're not going forward, you're not standing. If you're not growing, you're not standing still.
Yeah, you're going backwards.
It erodes. Yeah,
yeah, because everything else is moving forward, but you're not.
You're not. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Very good.
So every time you confirm a replenishable, or yes, I'm going to replenish this, that's a feeding, right? Now your starter, your base, your foundation's getting stronger. Okay. When you prune a dead lead, like this happens a fair amount. Like I'm going to say it's still the exception and not the rule, but
it is part of the process.
It's part of the process. When you pull up your 300-400 ASINs that appear to match your first level of an analysis, which we use automation for that. Yes. That you're going to come across some that those items are out of stock. That's all. That's always going to be a problem. Oh, yeah. Even when we go to the store, things are out of stock on the shelf, and we're like, dang it.
Or they're expired.
This is my best seller. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody in a coaching. Here I go off the script. Okay. I was talking to somebody in a coaching session the other day. She's like, I picked it up and it was like expired like 3 months. I was like, oh. When I first started actually looking at expiration dates, I suddenly went through my kitchen and said, oh my gosh, I cannot believe 2 years out of stock I've seen on the shelf.
Yeah, I know. This goes to show you how well those employees are paying attention to. But here's something we learned. I know we've talked about this before, but a lot of times those stores, their employees are not the ones stocking the shelves, right? They have vendors, they have third-party contractors who come in and actually take care of that product. Yeah. And so if that supplier is not taking care of their own stuff, that's how that happens.
But it occurs to me, going off script, is that like off Broadway? Yeah. Yeah. It does occur to me that this is one of the reasons people trust Amazon. Amazon doesn't let that happen. Yep. They don't let us send in. They don't let us stock the shelves with expired product. Right. They check that up front. Yep. And this is one reason that I feel comfortable shopping at Amazon myself, amongst many other reasons. There's yet another reason that people trust Amazon and will pay more to get stuff from Amazon.
Yeah. So when you're taking a dead lead out, that's maintenance, right? Like managing your starter. You're keeping the culture clean. And then when you skip a week, well, it's not going to die overnight, right? But it does stop growing. And the sellers who are still here years after they start are the ones who kept feeding it, which is your main goal here, right?
Consistently.
Yeah.
You can't let it go too long. I can't, leave that plant without water. It doesn't need a whole lot of water on a regular basis, but it does need water on a regular basis. And giving it a whole bunch of water at once is not the answer.
Right. What happens when you overwater your plants?
Then they go, they turn yellow and the leaves fall off.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm not a plant guy. Boy, we talk about a lot of things that we don't. Not.
Yeah. We do have one plant in here.
We do have one plant.
Actually got a plant back in November.
When you had surgery.
When I had surgery, and it's one of those like bamboo things. All you got to do is rocks and water. So all we have to do is keep watering it. That's the kind of plant I like.
Hopefully that'll last for a while. But I noticed it was completely out of water the other day.
Oops.
So
we're not good at
plants. We're not good at. Yeah. We're not good at. We're good at this.
Yeah. Right.
Well, the sellers that I coach that are struggling the most, it's almost never because they're bad. They're not good at this. It's not because of that. It's because they walked away and they let it go, and then it kind of died on the vine, as they say, right?
Right. Yeah.
The good news is you can almost always revive it. And I give that example of how we're on the runway and we got to get enough velocity with our intense focused effort to be able to take off by the end of the runway. Or we have to go around and what do we got to do? Start all over.
Refuel.
We're out of we're out of energy. We're out of, right? But I have seen more than a handful of people get to that point, have to start over, and find success. It does happen. And so don't be completely discouraged. I mean, it's harder to get started. But you have a lot of things in your favor that second time through, too.
You know
a lot that you didn't know.
A lot
your
more.
Expectations are very much more clear.
Yep.
And so, anyway.
Well, takeaway for me on this was that, a lot of people look at their database as a scoreboard, like, oh, look at how many... like your gold bars, right? Gold bars, look at, and how many leads do I have in my database? But really, that's not the accomplishment. What comes out the bottom end of that? What's left over at the end of the month from a profit perspective? What are you sorting through for the leads that you're actually buying from? That's your intellectual property.
Right, exactly. That's your BI. That's what you have worked for and you want to keep. And I always feel like I have to say this, Brian. Every time you say the gold bars.
Gold bars, yes.
That does not mean we want you to stop.
No.
Showing us your gold bars. Those are, we still want that.
I don't mean to diminish anyone's gold bars, by the way. I'm just saying that's a top line number, and it's a bit of a vanity metric.
Yeah. We were just going a little deeper here.
Yeah. Well, you're probably going to kill me if I say this, but we've got way too much junk in our database, like stuff from so long ago. I know.
You mean you're not detail oriented?
Well, here's the thing: is they never.
There might be a reason for that.
They never surface. They never come to the top of the list.
And that's the thing. You don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that stuff.
That's exactly right. That's what I like to tell people: is you could spend all this time on the front side. There's a lot of friction if you want to go through every single lead. Every single match that you get
and then you will have long sessions.
Then you're going to have super long sessions. If we assume that the 80-20 rule is in effect here, if not a little bit better than that, and 80% of the stuff that we're putting into the database is good, then we deal with the 20% later. There's a difference
as it comes up.
As it comes up. And I'm going to get into what I would call the whole QA versus QC process later.
Okay.
But quality checking can cost less from a time perspective on the backside than quality assurance on the front side.
Yeah. So you're saying we're preaching to ourselves as much as anybody else.
Of course. I mean, we're right there in it with everybody. Like I have these sessions all the time with, I've got, 74,000 leads in my database and the first, 250 look good, but this one's out of stock and that one's out of stock and this one's a mismatch. And that is true. That's going to happen. But that's still the exception. If you're looking at your 3P Mercury leads database and you got 100 to a page based on your filters, I'm not talking about using the Merc feature. I'm just saying the filters and you got 100, like I never really get past page 1 when I'm sourcing.
Yeah.
I'm doing cleaning and I'm buying, and gradually those ones.
Yeah, and it gets better and better.
Yeah.
And then, so what comes out of that first page that you're actually using is cleaning it out and you're building your starter, right?
This is the separating the wheat from the chaff, as they say, right? Yeah.
We say so many things that we have no experience. But yeah, I mean, you got to get that premium gold little piece of starter, and then that will grow.
Yeah.
As you clean it up, as it comes up, as you add more to it and feed it, it will grow.
Yeah.
But you got to start with what it is.
That's right. So we should focus on, if that's really our asset, we should focus on what we're feeding it. And I think that's where I have gotten it wrong in the past. I think where a lot of people have gotten it, maybe not wrong, but you learn.
Yeah.
I think you learn.
Yeah.
There's a difference between filling that jar with whatever you can find to start building your culture versus actually following the prescribed process or the recipe to make that happen. Because both of them kind of look the same from the outside if you're using a glass jar. You're adding the ingredients, but one actually produces bread or the dough for bread, and the other just sits there and goes bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the one that you didn't feed.
Yeah, the one that you didn't feed, yeah.
So what makes the difference between the two jars?
So, well, understanding what goes in and why, I think, right? This is not a tools conversation.
Okay.
This is about how do you run a defensible business conversation. Ooh, we've been talking about defensible business a lot lately,
yes,
right?
We have.
Because when Amazon comes knocking, and they will at some point in your Amazon FBA career, you need to be able to stand behind every single thing that is in your inventory.
Exactly. And has ever been in your inventory.
And has ever been. I know. I think back on some of those listings I sold in the early days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope that none of those ever come back to bite me. But in fact, I've told the story before, but the very first product I ever sold on Amazon was it was a diet product. It was like a powder that you pour in a drink, and it was I think it was in the grocery category or something. It was totally miscategorized, and I could have gotten in trouble for that.
I think it was in scientific, what is that?
Industrial
and scientific.
Yeah, I don't know whatever it was, but it was not in the right place.
And in those days, it was not as much of a thing.
Yeah.
And then we did things differently then, but the platform has changed.
For sure.
When we have been keeping up with the changes in the platform, I think as best as we can, but doing this research, I realize there's even more. There's even more.
So I think there are 4 layers to starting a healthy starter for your sourdough starter. And it goes back to the old adage of garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So I will say in the early days, I was like, okay, this is super cool. We can use tools. Let's just throw everything we can in this database, and then we'll filter through it, because I do believe in the power of filters. But since then, I've learned a few things. And the tools have gotten better, and our approaches have gotten better. Like, we learn through iteration. So here's where I'm starting today.
Okay.
Start with brands you trust, right?
Oh, start with the brand.
Start with brands you trust.
Okay.
So not Billy Bob's misbranded bundles, right?
Yes.
Brands you trust.
Yes. And brands that are spelled right on the listing.
Or as Nathan would say, brands you know, love, and trust, right?
Yes.
Yeah, spelled right and all that good stuff. Well, we're not checking the listing yet. We're just sourcing by the brand.
Okay.
Then only buy them from sources that you trust.
Okay. So brands you trust.
Right.
That you match with sources that you trust.
Right. So you know that the quality of your leads is better than it is about just like, oh, let me throw anything that matches in here, right? Then ASINs that you are approved for. Okay. Now, you
can't sell it if you're not approved for it.
You can't sell it if you're not approved for it. And I will say that the tools in most of the databases these days can filter out the ones that you're not approved for. So I am a proponent of bringing things in, especially when you're new, that you're not approved for, because at some point you probably will be approved for them, and you've already done the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't hurt to sit there. You've got room in your database. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, at the same time, if space is a concern, then, proceed accordingly.
Yeah.
And and hopefully it's got some sort of filtering built into it so that you can filter out the ones you're not approved for, so that not every other one is like,
look through everyone. Yeah.
And then the final piece of that puzzle.
But even a spreadsheet has that kind of.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Just with filtering.
Yeah.
And then the final layer, for layer 4, I guess, if that's how far in we are, would be being able to layer on actual buy costs, real buy costs.
Real buy costs.
Yeah.
Meaning not the sale price, not the what it actually would cost you to buy it.
Yeah.
To replenish it. Now, if you get it on sale, that's okay, but that's not the cost that matches.
That's right.
In my opinion.
Yeah. So anyway, you want to be standing on solid ground as you're building your foundation here, right? Mm-hmm. Not on some quicksand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I've seen this happen. People skip this step, and then they find out that they get all excited about the great looking listing. Mm-hmm. And you've said it before.
Yeah.
It can be the best looking listing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
If you don't have a source for it or you're not approved to sell it, it doesn't do you any good.
Yep.
So those that are good that you have that and the numbers all check out, you source it, you send it in, but then they get hit with authenticity complaint. Mm. Okay, what do you do then? Then you have to show documentation. No, I really did buy this legitimately. Mm-hmm. Here's my credit card. Here's my receipt. Here's, it really was mine. Mm-hmm. And you have to do that if you get an inauthentic claim.
Yes.
Meaning they think it was counterfeit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, not being paranoid. I don't want everybody to just be paranoid. Yeah. But I just want everybody to be intentional and understand what we're keeping receipts for.
Well, I think you're right on to it. Like the second layer aside from the brand is the source, right? Mm-hmm. So sources that you trust, and not every supplier is created equal. So you should be asking yourself, can I prove to Amazon where this product came from? Mm-hmm. Is this chain of custody clean? Mm-hmm. That's why we always say, and Jim always says, don't buy from liquidators, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't buy pallets, used stuff or storage units or whatever, and turn around and try and sell that stuff new on Amazon, because when you get called on it, you will not be able to prove anything and you'll lose your account, right?
Yeah. And let me just interject there. Uh-huh. These are legitimate sources.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they're not going, like they're going to steal your money and not give you anything.
Sure.
But that's not just a legitimate source is not the only thing we're worried about. We need a defensible source.
Yes, you're right. Defensible source. Well, let's talk about the different kinds of supporting documentation, I guess, that you get from different suppliers.
Yeah, that help you defend.
Some will give you invoices. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is your strongest documentation. Back in the day when you could resell Lego, and I think there are still some people who can, but most of us can't. Mm-hmm. When you could resell Lego on the platform, you could order from Lego, and they would give you an invoice, and you could actually use that to get ungated. Right? So an invoice is the strongest piece of documentation that you can get. Not only does it have proof of ownership.
Has your name on it, has their name on it, has addresses, and
it checks the box for chain of custody, proof of authenticity, and proof of ownership.
Yes.
So that's the best kind that you can get.
Yes.
The next best kind that you can get is a receipt, and which is really good for proof of ownership, but it does get a little gray when you're trying to prove authenticity and chain of custody. Although, if it's at a trusted supplier, then the authenticity is usually not an issue.
Right. So that's why when we first start in Kickstart, I tell everybody, use those sources that you already know, clearly have, and Amazon knows. It's no question in anybody's mind that they have a direct relationship with the brand. And that is, because we want to be the third party.
Yep.
Not the fourth party.
Right.
That's the problem. That's what Amazon's trying to avoid.
Yep.
Is that chain of custody getting too long.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Well, so the documentation that you can produce downstream, like to Amazon or to anyone who asks, starts with the source that you're choosing upstream. And if you pick the wrong ingredient, your bread's going to fall flat. It's going to taste funny. It's not going to... It might be a little even sour for sourdough bread. Who knows?
So can I say it this way?
Yeah.
You don't have to have name brand flour, but you do have to have real flour.
Yes.
Just because it says flour on the bag doesn't mean that's what's inside.
Yeah. So make sure you're getting that.
And your yeast has to be live yeast.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So then the third layer is the ASINs you're approved for. So once your brands and your sources are solid, then build out the ASINs that you can actually sell in this moment, right? Your approval landscape is probably far larger than you think, but it starts with those first two layers being clean. Make sure you're getting the right brand from the right source. And then finally, that fourth layer, which is the magic of the Lead Vault and 3P Mercury for me, is that you load it up with your actual buy costs, and then it's able to do math for you, right?
Yeah.
At scale. Which is the
so you don't have to do that every time you sit down and look at an ASIN.
Now, I will say I have gamed the system in the past when I thought that the tools out there were being overly aggressive on filtering. And so I have a bunch of leads in my database that I had imported at 50% off, or I marked everything as $1 just because I wanted the lead. And hey, guess what? Now 3P Mercury has the go update the supplier feature. And so I can update the buy cost that way pretty easily. So
all these, tools are coming out to solve the constraints that have moved. Right. But what about the seller who's just starting out? They don't have a sense, they don't have any experience to know what's a good source, what's not a good source. How do they deal with that?
Well, I think that's why a framework exists, right? We talk about the pre-flight inspection and the 3-step check and understanding the different types of documentation, knowing the difference between an invoice and a receipt. These are your training wheels, okay? You don't ride without them until you aren't going to worry about falling over. And
And
I mean, you're still going to fall over. When you take the training wheels off the first time. But.
You're just not as concerned about you falling over when it happens. So, and that's what I tell new sellers. I work with sellers within their first 90 days a lot. I really love doing that. And, it feels like you have to figure it all out. But I always tell them you do not have to understand all of this just to get started. Get started. Leave the training wheels on. Let's go ahead and get started. You don't have to learn to ride the speed bike, the velodrome in order to get started. Put the training wheels on and let's go. And you'll learn so much more than you would if you went and got on that other bike to start with.
It's like when I first decided I wanted to play the guitar, I got the book that was teaching me how to play the guitar. And it was Mary Had a Little Lamb. Not the Stevie Ray Vaughan version. Right?
Yes.
Right? And I'm like...
Okay, now that's in my head.
That's not what I meant when I said play the guitar, right? But we all have to start somewhere, right?
Oh, I remember playing the piano. One finger, one note at a time. I was like, that's not what my mom does. I want to do that.
Right.
So once you got the right ingredients going on, then what happens?
Well, this is when it starts to get fun because now we're starting to use the power of the compounding effect.
Okay.
So once your starter is actually alive and healthy, the weekly rhythm changes completely. Now, it does take an investment on the front side, right? Get that database full
It's front loaded.
Make sure that you're filtering, scouring your brands and your sources and build your list with sources and buy costs so you can start working at scale.
Do you just build your system to do that automatically?
Right. And then you're just adding a little bit to it every single week once you get it built, right? So that rhythm, though, in the first few weeks is heavy on the sourcing side.
Sure, of course,
right?
Because you got nothing.
But once you get that done, then you go from spending hours, building up your database, and potentially, spending 30 minutes to find one thing to buy. Right. Now I've spent 30 minutes to scan my page one of results to review results that already pass my criteria.
And decide which ones are the best.
Right. That's the compound effect. Okay. The hard part was the upfront investment. Now I'm really just optimizing, right? Don't we all want to get to the
kind of dialing it in.
We all try to optimize way too soon. Right.
Well, because we say, why would I make those mistakes? Why would I make all those mistakes that I heard Brian did when he first started? Why would I do that? Right. I know not to make that mistake, so I'm just going to start at step 10. Doesn't work that way.
First million is the hardest, so I'm going to start with the second.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah, let's do that. I want to do that too. Tell me when you figure out how to make that happen.
So today, weekly, like 30 minutes worth of time for me to go through that list. I rarely make it to page 2.
This is why I don't need to play in that space anymore.
So, and every week we feed it a little bit more, right? Provide some more leads. We'll get new approvals. We'll go mine those brands to find new ASINs and find sources for them, right? And then continue to prune out what's dead, which are discontinued items, permanent out of stocks, mismatches. Right?
Yes.
These are things that you're going to have to deal with. But ultimately, the culture... Misbranded, the culture is staying healthy because we maintain it every week, right? A little bit. It's sort of like weeding your garden. If you put it off for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, well, you got a lot of work to do. But if you're doing a little bit every day, then it's way easier to keep up, right? So saying, I'm just going to go source is sort of like saying, I said this before. Like, I'm going to go to the gym, right? I'm going to source. Yeah. It's sort of like saying, I'm going to go to the gym.
Okay.
But
you should go to the gym, right?
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
But the gym is not a plan. The gym is a destination.
Oh, so you go to the gym, then you got to do something at the gym. Yeah.
Well, they just wander around and like, this machine's open. Let me sit down and, try this one out for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
This is the way I felt in the early days of building this business. I'm like, I'm going to try a little bit of this. I'm going to try a little bit of that. I'm going to watch this podcast. I'm going to watch this course. And, under the, I was telling myself. I
worked for hours and hours.
That I sourced for hours. Right. Yeah. But this starter, right, actually lets you be specific about the process that you're going through.
Right. And we said something else there too. It's not just a one-time thing. Going to the gym, even if you had a purpose, that one time that you went to the gym, you have to keep, ask me how I know, you got to keep going back to the gym.
Well, it's sort of like watering the plant. You can't water it for its whole life in one sitting. Right? You can't get enough workout in the gym in one
I can't
session.
spend a whole weekend in the gym, hours and hours and hours, and make up for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
No, I will hurt myself.
Right. Plus, you're getting approved for new brands all the time.
Yes.
New ASINs are being created all the time. Some of those approvals are just going to happen automatically. Some will happen as your account matures. And this whole thing is a flywheel, right? And every quarter you can rescan your database for what's new. Like what am I now approved for that I wasn't before, and uncover new opportunities that weren't there 3 months ago. And that asset, okay, let's go back to where I was saying in the very beginning, that asset is now appreciating over time. You care for it. You feed it. Right?
I will love him and hold him and squeeze him. Okay.
Yeah. Well, once you build the asset, you don't have to be the one maintaining it, though. Here's something else. I had a coaching session with a longtime coaching client who came to a workshop of ours a while back. And she was telling me, like, well, this part's frustrating for me because it seems like, this one's out of stock. This one, I would buy this one. Okay, add it to my cart. This one is a mismatch. And I was like, you have VAs, right? She says, yeah, I have 2.5 VAs. Great. You know what sounds like a great task list for one of your VAs? Go through this list, whether it's Merck or your filters, and tag appropriately. So if it's good, if they think it's good, add it to cart, and you become the reviewer then. Like here are, you just make buy decisions. If that lead is questionable, like you might want to get rid of it, maybe you tag it as review or delete or something like that. Or you have them tag it that way. And then you review it and you say, these are all these, I want all these to go, right?
I think you really hit on something. And we just listened to a podcast with one of our...
We did. You can say the name. It's okay. Matt Hassler?
Matt Hassler.
Yeah.
Killing it, man.
Yeah.
Go. And that was a great podcast too. I picked up some really good points. But one thing that I remember he said was, I don't necessarily use VAs for sourcing.
True.
The first thing I used VAs was for that admin stuff that's it's just menial stuff. Let the, $5 people, $10 people, whatever they are, do the $10 work.
Yeah.
You need to do the higher quality work. And when it's like that, and you can have, you don't feel like you have time to do all that stuff, get somebody to do that and bring it to you rather than you starting, digging up the hole yourself. Have somebody bring you something that's already filtered a little bit.
I agree. You're not handing off the decision making, although we know people who have. But in this case, you don't have to do that. You're just handing off the prep work so that when you sit down...
Right. Like the table's already set for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they just bring the plate of food and you're
Exactly.
like, oh, I've got everything I need. I got my drink. I got my silverware. I got my napkin. I got bread. I got, everything I need, right?
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Well, I think you probably know what's coming next.
Is it the fishbone? It's always the fishbone.
The fishbone diagram.
The fishbone.
Yeah.
Okay, the fishbone. Go.
Yeah, I could feel your blood pressure rising from here. No, you like the fishbone.
I like the
Let's
fishbone.
think about the fishbone diagram. Okay. Basically, like we got the spine, and then I like to draw 7, offshoots from that, which is looks like a fishbone diagram. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are basically 7 if you subscribe to what we believe, which is there are 7 core competencies. Mm-hmm. And sourcing is but one of those.
Yes.
And so
it's the first one.
It's the first one.
But it's only one.
But if that's what's consuming everything that you got, then the others are slowly withering away.
I gotta say, Brian, in this day and age, we have so many techniques and tools to help us to do that part of it, that should not be what's consuming your time.
I agree. I mean, there's that initial investment period.
There is that initial. That's right. Yeah. It will be in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be your regular practice, right?
So just because I like saying it, sourcing, shopping, prepping, shipping, repricing, replenishing, business acumen, right?
Yes.
These are the 7 core competencies. And the whole point of building a healthy starter is to free you up to be able to complete all those things as the business owner, right?
And get them off of your plate.
Not spending 95% of your time treasure hunting.
Yes. And that's what separates the people who plateau and get stuck because they're not, all of their time is taken and they haven't found efficiencies to give them time to do everything else. Separates those people from the people who keep going and scale. They're able to build something that matters.
And hand off things.
Yes.
Right?
Like you have to hand off things to scale, I think.
I took away from Matt's interview the other day was that Jim asked him something and he goes, I haven't sourced in 2 years. I don't know. Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. He absolutely makes buying decisions, right?
Yeah.
But he's not the one doing the sourcing. Yeah.
People bring it to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that in itself, is a skill. You have to hand off the skill. You can't just hand off, oh, you're going to do sourcing. Here's some sourcing to do.
Yeah.
No. You help them understand the skill that you want them to do for you. You decide what that is.
You should have a plan when you go to the gym, not just wander around and use whatever machine's open, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian, I just want to make sure that we leave people with something. I think about this a lot. Okay, I'm coaching with people, and we're always thinking about how we can explain things better. But one of the things that I want to remember is that in the early days, everything feels like effort. Remember, I work with new people all the time, so I'm always everything you say, anything anybody says, I'm like, okay, new people, let's look at that from the right angle. Everything feels like anger. Everything feels like effort.
Yeah.
Was that Freudian? I don't know. Every ASIN is a question. I'm not sure. Everything feels uncertain. And everything feels like a gamble almost. Like you don't have any experience. You don't know what's going to happen. And you just don't. Right? And you wonder if you're ever going to get past that.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the before click, after click. Yeah. You're like, I have people come to me and go, I don't think I got the click yet. I need the click. Come on, Robin, give me the click. But if you keep feeding that starter, you're going to get the click. I promise you. I may, some faster than others. That's okay. Your timing is your timing. But if you keep showing up, you keep doing the work, it's going to happen. And it's exciting. It's exciting. And you won't notice it. It won't be one day you go, I get it. One day you'll look back and go, oh, I think I've had this for a while. And I didn't realize I was making that much progress.
Yep.
But it does come, and it comes with momentum.
Okay.
And you'll know it when you're waking up one day and you realize I'm sitting in the middle of what I had hoped I would be several weeks ago.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So realize you're going to get to the point where it's not just hunting anymore. It's harvesting.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
You're reaping what you have sown. And you're starter is alive and you have something to gain from that easily. It's reaping because you sowed. It's almost important to plant the seeds that you're going to reap.
Yep.
Get those tests in as it is to gather them at harvest time.
Hunting and harvesting. Maybe one of these days I'll tell the hunting on a Texas ranch story.
Oh dear, that's a story. That's a story. All right. Do you have a what do you call that? A quote for us today?
I do have a quote. Yes, this quote comes to us from Robert Louis Stevenson. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant.
Oh, I led you right into that one, didn't I?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So when your database is a mess and your sourcing sessions feel like you're digging through a landfill, looking for that little piece of gold, you know what cures that?
Test more ASINs.
Well, better ingredients.
Oh.
And you know what gets you better ingredients?
Oh, test more ASINs. All right.
Test more
I got you. Let's go test more ASINs. We'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for joining us for today's episode. Before I let you go, let's spend a couple minutes with my good friend, Mr. Jeff Schick of jeffschick.com. He and his team of legal and policy experts can help you with any e-commerce, Amazon, Walmart, eBay questions that you have and help you handle any legal or policy challenges as well. He's always got a good tip for us. What do you got for us today, Jeff?
So we got an interesting one. We've had a couple sellers now that have been asked by Amazon to do bank account verifications just to make sure that their bank account matches the deposit method that's on file with Amazon. Now, what is interesting about it is that these sellers that we've been helping, the reason why we've been getting involved is because the sellers are working with, regular accredited banks that are licensed banks. I think so far all the banks we've had issues with, though, have been small community banks. And the bank accounts, that when they print the bank statement, it only has the last 4 digits of the company checking account number.
Right.
So it doesn't have the full account number on there. Now, if you look at like a Chase Bank statement or a Wells Fargo statement, it will have the entire checking account number on that statement. So why that's important is that if Amazon's doing a bank account verification, we've seen an increasing trend that they are rejecting bank statements that don't contain the entire bank account number as shown on the Amazon account. So if your entire bank account number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and your bank statement has XXXXX 6, 7, 8, that's not going to cut it for Amazon. They're not going to accept that as being one and the same. And so I'm just encouraging people right now, look at your bank statements, make sure that your bank statement has the full account number. If it doesn't, there's no need to panic. Just find a new bank that does. Open a new bank account with a bank that does and just update it, switch it with Amazon and go through the verification. Because what you don't want to do is find out that your bank account statement only has the last 4 digits printed when Amazon's asking you for a copy of it and they're rejecting it. So.
Yeah. Wow. What a strange conversation that would be to go to the bank that you're at currently and say, I got to change banks. Sorry. Why? Because the paper statement only has the last 4 digits.
Right.
What kind of weirdo needs all the digits on the same? Well, Amazon sellers do. That's a great tip, man. That's the little things that we would just never know or catch ahead of time if we didn't have you guys in our community. I'm so appreciative of the little tips and strategies you're always dropping on us. Thanks, Jeff. That was a really good one.
Absolutely. Glad to help.
And for those who don't know, jeffschick.com, if you go to the website and use the coupon code mistake, the word mistake, as in, I don't want to make the mistake of not having Jeff's team on retainer. It's only going to cost you $1 for your first month. After that, it's just a few dollars a month to have his team on retainer for anything that comes up, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, e-commerce, policy, and legal. Put his team to work for you, as so many leaders in our community have done. All right, Jeff, let's do that again next week. What do you say?
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.